Yeah.
I think. Or 1 for 2 with a walk, but
No,
that
it was
doesn't make
3.
any sense. 1 for 3? 1 for 3 with a walk.
Is that going to ease? You think that eases things up for him a little bit when he gets back to Yankee Stadium, or are they still going to just vilify him? I think it'll crush him.
What eases stuff up?
He's
2 for 7. He's 2 for 7.
He's not 0 for. That's better than 0 for 9. I mean,
you're right, but he's 2 for 7. Got taken out of the lineup tonight defensively, which kind of a punk move. So no one knows if he's 100% physically, but he was. John pointed this out yesterday, and John's the athlete here. He would know. He looked like he was playing injured. He looked in pain. And so who knows if he belongs out on the field? Who knows what
he's not
the scam, guys?
It's the hip. I mean, that's not an injury baseball players get over very quickly.
No.
At all.
And he's got 2 hips now.
Don't you think? I mean, you guys have probably talked about this.
2 hips.
You guys have probably talked about this ad nauseum. But I mean, the idea that A-Rod, he had an opportunity when this biogenesis thing first broke. He could have found a way to weasel out of the game through a medical retirement. He could have collected his money. He could have kept his name out of the news. He could have given the Yankees the relief because they would have been able to cover it by insurance. Maybe he still, well, I don't know, they don't really have a cap in baseball, but they would have been able to pay that money through insurance, and he could have walked away and not had all this stink on him. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know what Ryan Braun did.
I think he would have had some stink.
He would have had some stink, but this is going to be a 2-year thing. This is the song that's never going to end. I mean, we're going to be talking about this for a while.
Mike from Milwaukee is on the line. Mike, you're on the air. He always has a knob of the week. I don't see how it's not A-Rod, but maybe it is an A-Rod. And if it is A-Rod, I'm curious in his thinking. Mike from Milwaukee, knob of the week.
How you doing, guys?
What's up?
And I'd like to say hi to John, who I forgot to acknowledge the last 500 times I called, just because I get really nervous still when I call. But
that's
John,
nice of you.
Great addition. I can't wait to talk football with you this year.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited.
Well, you guys should get together on the weekends and do that.
A-Rod is he's such a turd, such a hypocrite that he always talks about the game and how important it is to him. And he's such a black guy. And most of the headlines.
He's such a black guy? A black guy. I'm sorry.
That's it. He just won't go away. His whole existence really is a joke because he came into the league, 98, 6?
No, 95.
95.
I mean, his first long year, I think, was 96. But he was playing in 95. Right, matter of fact, those playoffs that I discussed where Mattingly's last year and Edgar Martinez had such a great series along Ken Griffey Jr. A-Rod comes in, I believe, as a pinch hitter or a pinch runner in that playoff series. So he played in 95. He was on the roster.
Yeah, he was 18 when he first started.
Right,
yeah.
and had incredible talent. Really, probably, like you said about Braun, did not need to dope, but admits as early as 2001 to 2003.
Right.
So all this money that he's taking from people that can barely afford to pay the rent, it's all based on lies. His whole existence, his whole legacy, in my opinion, is BS.
Of course, yeah.
Well, I mean, so he doesn't sound like he's your knob of the week. It sounds like he's your knob of the century.
Knob of the millennium, at the very least. People, you talk about how expensive it is to go to Yankee Stadium. I got tickets for a Brewer game at Miller Park. I got the tickets for free and a parking pass, and I have 2 adult kids, and we went, and it still cost a fortune. Now that's Miller Park, and I'm sure. It's quite a bit cheaper. I work close to 70 hours every week, and still can, barely afford to go to something like that. And when people want to take their kids to see their heroes, you talk about Art Donovan, guys like that. Those guys were more relatable because they were more like our parents, like our dads.
Right.
They were real guys.
Oh, no, I know, yeah.
That drank and were fun guys with real stories. And, he's given all these guys, including Braun, have given baseball such a black eye. It's horrible. It's sad what he's done. And I really believe his ban should be lifetime for being such a weasel and dragging this out.
It basically is going to be once they get this to stick and they get him to officially stop playing the game and stop with these appeals. I think we may not see him again.
No, because he'll be close to 40 when
over 40. If it's 200 games, he'll be over 40.
No, didn't he just turn 38? So he's inching towards 40.
Yeah, 40 or
he's inching towards 40 when he finally is allowed to come back. And like you mentioned, he's not looking good right now. He'll have taken most of 2 seasons off. I mean, the guy wasn't hitting anyway. in his last year. I mean, no, I think it's a death sentence to the game, to his game. The question is to get the money.
It's sad. It really is pathetic, and it. What do you tell your kids that look up to these chuckleheads?
You tell them not to. You tell them not to. You tell them this guy's a pathological liar. In 2009, he sat there in front of a camera and said like a politician, said, "America, judge me from what I do from here on out." The day after he pretty much had that interview, the guy was down in biogenesis, according to these documents, shooting stuff into his butt or whatever he's doing out there. I mean, it was, it's really deplorable. He's psychotic. I mean, there's no other word for it.
If you tell your kids what I've told you to tell your kids in my last stand-up special, Jack and Coke, still available. If you give a hooker money to go and get cocaine, she will never, ever come back with the cocaine.
I'm glad Chris is there tonight. That's very good, by the way. Very good. I'm going to give you a little trucker love for that.
Thank you. There you go, on the road. Mike, where are you right now, Mike?
I am Bristol, Indiana, land of the 70s retro bush with all the Amish folks that don't groom. They don't groom out here. But
how do you know?
Chris, well, there's Amish hookers.
He's driving through it every night.
There's been a lot of speculation about Braun's MVP year, which was 11, I believe. And the following year, he had similar MVP-type numbers and was under such scrutiny, he couldn't possibly have still been doping. Could he?
No, of course he could have.
Well, now there's these new drugs that are in and out in 24 hours. They supposedly, right? Have you heard about these drugs?
Yeah.
They're out of your system in 24 hours. So how tempting is that? How tempting is that?
If we got through the Barry Bonds era and the McGuire's era and Sammy Sosa and the beating that those guys took on a daily basis, and years after that, guys are still doing this. They're still out there willing to put themselves at risk for something like this. This is never going to end. There's going to be a biogenesis clinic in Texas. There'll be one in Louisiana somewhere. There'll be another version of biogenesis. We'll be back doing the same thing all over again.
Right. I can't see how that's not possible.
It really is.
It'll never end.
He is A-Rod is. We should start calling him A-Cup, because he's going to turn into Tony Mandarich before too long and start wearing a man's ear or a bro or whatever you want to call it. He absolutely is knob of the millennium at this point. I can't see, unless another guy in Cleveland snatches up some women and stuffs them in the basement.
As far as professional athletes, we'll give them that. All right, well, thanks, Mike. Just drive carefully.
Will do.
Drive carefully.
You know what's a scary part?
Bang some Amish hookers for us.
Well, one of the scary parts about, I wrote this column last night about how there was a boxer that was on this list, Yuri Gamboa.
Right.
He had a laundry list of things he was taking. HGH, IGF-1, which is that deer antler stuff. So basically HGH, another form of it. And testosterone cream he had on him. There's no oversight in boxing, so nobody gives a damn. The guy was out fighting 5 months later. Yeah. The only people that asked him about it was the HBO crew during the fighter meetings.
It's boxing. I mean, come on, boxing.
I know, and I'm with you. It's terrifying, though, because this is the most dangerous sport out there. This is more dangerous than football. You're punching a guy in the head.
I know, but boxing is just nobody cares. It's been controversial.
But don't you believe, Artie, that there will be such an uproar when somebody dies and the guy that killed him tests positive?
Sure,
that's when the John McCain's of the world and the federal government we need oversight. We got to figure this out.
That's the next plateau.
The indignity people will have after that happens.
That's the next thing where you're right. Politicians will see that as an opportunity to get elected and a subject just to pound and pound and pound.
And this is not a question.
Their name out there. Now I'm going to do something to correct this.
And it's not an if question. It's a when. It's going to happen. It absolutely will happen. They had a guy in Las Vegas test a 30-to-1 ratio for testosterone. Normal is like 6-to-1. 30-to-1. What are you putting in your body that's 30-to-1?
Well, first of all, I was
testes.
I was listening to Dan Patrick, and he said that he knows of, you probably know this too, some other names on that biogenesis list from other sports.
Right.
And he said the names that he's heard of, if in fact they're true, are really disappointing. Like, it's disappointing. It saddens you to hear the names.
Yeah,
alluding to their
like
heroic
the
guys, maybe.
NCAA people?
He didn't say what, but that might be it. Did you hear any other names of any other sports?
I have not heard other sports. No, I have not. The NBA just dinged this guy, Terrell Harris, for 5 games. That doesn't sound like it was... The NBA likes to nail you for marijuana a lot. They'll do that all day long, but they don't have a great system for testing for any of that stuff.
It's weird.
So don't smoke pot, but you can do whatever you want.
I don't know. Well, I'm sure Dan doesn't say stuff like that lately, and that would be depressing, I guess. I'm sure it's true what he's talking about. But it makes it sound like it's guys who you thought were guys you could tell your kid to look up to, maybe, and it doesn't.
And how terrifying would it be if it's one of those the elite players, especially in the NBA, if you had like one of the top shelf guys?
Dan sounded like that might be the situation if the names ever came out. All right, we got to take another break, and we'll be back with the Artie Lange Show and Chris Mannix after these words. Now, do you know Sue Chris, a Boston gal?
No, I don't.
Very funny
really
comedian.
Talented.
She got
lady.
a good one-woman show out now that she just raised money for on. What's that website where you raise money?
Kickstarter, right?
Kickstarter. I helped her.
That
out.
website where you raise money.
Yeah, I helped her out quite a
Already
bit.
funded
websites.
it. Yeah, already
Pretty much
funded a lot
funded
of it.
The human fund.
Yeah, right. And she, she's got this thing going. And what's it called? I wasn't trying to be funny.
I wasn't trying to be funny.
I wasn't
She's
trying to
doing
be funny. It's
again
about her
coming
life.
up. She's September 11th. She's doing another show in New York.
You'd like her because she's got real funny, cute blonde, and she got a real hardcore Southie accent.
Like that.
Real hardcore,
She
yeah.
had an incredibly
Has she been on the show?
tough life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I've known Sue for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've known her a long time through comedy. And we had the same manager for a long time in the 90s. And we used to bust each other's chops at clubs, at comedy clubs. So we would always follow each other. And one of us would be in the back of the room at stand-up New York quite a bit, actually. I don't know. We were always at that club together. And we'd be heckling each other from the back of the stage. And it was kind of fun. And, she always had a bunch of deals, getting acting jobs, very talented. And I guess now she wrote this one-woman show about being in the business. Difficult for a woman to be in the business, especially, she got development deals and had some sitcoms on, and she made some good money. But
her life was tough, man.
Right.
Her neighborhood was pretty brutal.
she was like, she grew up right next to Southie, if not in it,
Right.
or right next to it. And,
Yeah.
So
Like the people that she knew that stayed there ended up not living.
Yeah, this is probably before Southie became gentrified.
But now, is it gentrified now?
Yeah, a lot of college
it's
kids
become
moved
like
there.
areas in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Oh, no
it's a good
kidding.
example. Yeah, it's become a lot like that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was still kind of rough.
There are still
Yeah.
very rough areas of, but as the college kids start to move there, bars spring up. You get a lot of
Yeah, you got to remember
the yuppification kind of it in some
Yeah,
ways.
you got to remember Boston is essentially a college town, man.
Oh, it's the best college town in the world.
And it is. That's true. It's fun, man.
You get everything along the green line there.
Oh, there's no
BC,
better.
BU, Northeastern.
There's no
Harvard.
better crowd for a comedy show,
Yeah.
man, than Boston. I've done stand-up, for 25 years essentially, and the crowd you get in Boston are just great. They're just hip. They're smart. They get it from the college age on up, So I enjoy it up there. But anyway, so Chris, what are you working on now? Anything in particular? Any stories you're covering? Are you working on baseball and upcoming football or?
No, I'm
hoops?
really. The last thing I was writing about was Greg Oden signing with Miami. And
Right.
him,
What's the story with him? I mean, is he going to physically be able to do anything?
not for a while. Like he's going to be out for a while. Like
When? How long?
Probably till the All-Star break or January at the earliest. Like it's a guy. I mean, look, he
unreal.
hasn't played since 2010.
Wow.
He's the 09-10 season, and he didn't play much in that year at all. The guy's got a lot of work to do. But look, Miami's had a great track record with signing free agents at the end of these guys like Ray Allen, Shane Battier.
Yeah.
And if this guy can give them anything, they already won 2 championships in a row.
That's what I mean.
Well, that's what they
Yeah.
need. They need
Scary.
that presence, the size. The thing is, though, with Oden, it just seems like for the last couple years, he was popping up everywhere, like in pictures, like sitting in bars by himself. And
He had a rough go of it early. I don't think he dealt well with the injuries and the problems he had. The way his career went. I think it was coupled with the fact that Kevin Durant was doing what he was doing, and he was the pick right after him, and everybody else,
Right.
everybody looked at
Right.
Oden as Oden's the bus, Kevin Durant's the star. I mean, look, it's like Sam Bowie all over again.
Well, well, hopefully not. Especially if he's a guy, like you say, alone in a bar. I hope he's not a drinker.
I think he was.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was some stories written about that a while back.
Nah, that could lead towards some bad stuff. But I don't know. He's going to go to Miami. Good place to be. Good place to be.
Well, it's a good place because there's no pressure on him. He doesn't have to do anything for that team. They don't
Right.
need him. That's one thing that they made clear to him early on was like, look, you don't have to be ready for opening night. You don't have to be ready till January. Just get yourself back into shape.
I was thinking the other day about this. I'll give you one second, John. But I was saying, I was thinking about this the other day. about the signing of Ray Allen and what he did in Game 6.
Yep. And what Battier did in Game 7.
You literally, Ray Allen, when they signed him, they could have said, don't show up to any games. Except Game 6, the last 5 seconds of Game 6 of the finals, we're going to need you. And every penny we're paying you.
Yep.
We can make the playoffs and get to the finals without you.
$3 million.
Every penny we're paying you. What was it, $3 million?
Yeah.
The whole $3 million is just for making the shot.
Right.
We need you one time. Bosch is going to kick it out to you because he's worthless. and you're going to be open for a three-pointer. That is gonna win the game for us.
Yeah.
And we need you to hit that three.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't need you. And he hit the three.
Made worth every nickel.
He did. Hitting that shot was worth every nickel of $3 million.
Well, then Battier went out in Game 7.
It's so funny how sports work out that way.
Battier came out in Game 7 and hit 6 3-pointers in that game. Another guy they signed on the cheap off the scrap heap.
I can't stand that guy.
You don't like Battier?
I'm not a Battier guy.
No, he's good.
Duke guy. Pretty boy.
Yeah, Duke
I don't
guys.
like the residual ass he's getting. You know what I mean? I don't like the residual ass.
He had a great line to me when he was first coming to the league. Like people he was 22 years old, coming out of Duke. A lot of people thought he got a lot of women. And he said to me, he was like, look, I have two demographics. I've got the in-sync crowd that isn't old enough to date me, and I've got the grandmothers who want me to date their daughters.
Yeah, well, listen, let me tell you something. He was being modest. I'm sure everything was fine, and it aggravates the hell out of me. I'm sure he's getting laid like crazy down in Miami.
Yeah, Miami's not a bad place to be. I want to know, Greg Oden-wise, this is a guy who I don't remember seeing him play. It's been so long. How good was he? How close to that can he?
He was a great
approximate?
Defensive player. I mean, he was one of the best. He had the potential to be one of the best defensive players in the league when he came in. He had great instincts. He's 7'1", 270.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
he was 7'1", 270.
He was a big dude.
guy.
He is a big dude, but. There were so many red flags early on. There was like one leg was a little longer than the other, and that was
true?
something. Yeah, that was just slightly longer than the other. And
But 7'1", 270, if you got that kind of size and that kind of girth, and you could get some sort of finesse, just any finesse.
He was athletic, too.
And one aspect of your game, right? Athletic, where you can be coordinated, make some shots from 15, 20 feet, or, you're forced to be reckoned with. You're an NBA player.
But you remember how good he was for Ohio State in that 1 year he played there?
Yeah.
He was a monster.
It was everything. It was everything. And a guy like that is all you need, especially at the college level.
Yeah.
That size. You're right. You're looking at dominance that you saw in Patrick Ewing and the college level and Shaq and, on and on. We got to take another break. Very disturbing news. Chris Brown. I'm quitting music, maybe. And, of course, my generation's question is, when was he going to start music? The Artie Lange Show after this.